When the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 came out in late 2020, everyone was super hyped about it, especially since you couldn't get one super easily because they were all being scalped to hell. We were told that the spinning disk drive was over with and we're moving on to blazing fast SSDs that would let us load into games within seconds, and leaps and bounds with performance and visuals, with true 4K gaming on the horizon. And the cherry on top, ray tracing, we were told that was going to make games look breathtaking and add a new depth of realism to the game. But 5 years later, how has that held up? Let's find out. Well, before I cut away, you know the answer. It was completely a disappointment, and there seems to be no hope on the horizon either, and things are looking pretty bleak. That's why I believe this generation will be remembered by what was not achieved, but will be remembered for all the embarrassments and compromises and absolute mismanagement that we saw this generation. This is one of the first generations we've seen in a long time where there's been no real console war. No one's fighting for either side. You can play games anywhere now, and guess what? No one cares about Xbox anymore. Nintendo with the Switch absolutely dominating with their own platform and their own niche, and PlayStation taking the wind out of Xbox entirely. Just to show you how much this is the case, PlayStation sold 1.17 million consoles. In the same time, Xbox sold 4 times less consoles. And now the PlayStation 5 is outperforming the PS4 even. And there still aren't any games. So that brings into question, why is Xbox bagging it so hard? Why aren't they trying? Why aren't they trying to succeed? And, well, the answer is they're trying not to. What they really want was to start up a service company instead of a hardware company. They don't care about hardware sales, they want people on Game Pass. They want service first, hardware second. They don't care what platform you're on, PC, PlayStation, Nintendo, even their own console. They don't care. They want you to play wherever, and they want you to buy their games because they realize the console market is really hard to get a grasp on. And if they can find new markets that are emerging like cloud gaming, and they can dominate those, and then maybe they can outcompete Sony and Nintendo in the future. And since Microsoft has not been trying with the Xbox, they're literally falling flat on their faces. In July of 2025, they sold literally 60,000 less units than the Xbox One did at the exact same time in its lifespan, which is remarkably bad. And we're comparing the Xbox Series X to the Xbox One, which was also a complete embarrassment. This is mainly to do with there being very few Xbox exclusives that are, first off, exclusive to the Xbox, and second off, worth playing in the first place. So this has led to people to say, why the fuck would I buy an Xbox? What do I need one for? I can buy all my games on PlayStation 5 that I really want to play on Xbox. Or I own a PC and I can get literally every single game on Xbox I want. This has led only 802 games to ever be released on the Xbox Series X. That's including games that are announced to come to the Xbox Series X. And when you compare that to the Xbox 360's catalog of 2,155 games, you start to see that this is not looking good for them. Out of that list of 802 games, only 682 of them are original titles, not remakes, releases, remasters, whatevers. They're original games. If this generation were to go on another 5 years, at this rate, we'll only see 1,238 games on this generation. And that is just embarrassing, Microsoft. But even worse news, the Xbox team is about to release a new console soon, apparently. Possibly this holiday, possibly next holiday. What we'll see then is a console for the first time having less than 1,000 games since the N64. And also, not to mention, there not being a quality Halo this time around. Halo Infinite sucked. And we didn't have a Gears of War this generation yet? Like, are you serious? So now you can see why the PlayStation 5 is absolutely destroying the Xbox Series X. And there's a newcomer on the street, the Switch 2, but that doesn't seem to be doing super well, even though its sales figures, at least at the beginning, have been pretty good. But I understand third-party releases are going to be kind of scarce going on in the future, and their price increases is definitely going to scare off people from buying Switch 2. We'll have to see. It's too early to say on the Switch 2, but PlayStation 5 is absolutely killing it. Speaking about price increases, this is the first time this has literally ever happened in console history. Other than in like niche cases where, exchange rates are different, global supply shortages, which can affect pricing, but it's only in like localized regions. In this case, it's a worldwide price increase. Everyone's doing it. This is the first time this has ever happened. Throughout my whole life, I thought the idea is as technology ages and you use the same technology, that technology should get cheaper. Apparently it's not. To be fully honest, this is not entirely the manufacturer's fault of these consoles because chips are getting more and more expensive. Just look at Nvidia, and that's not technically speaking Nvidia's fault. That is not technically AMD's fault. That's not technically any of these consoles makers' fault. It is the people who make the chips who are increasing the prices of chips. But something that is definitely in their control is Microsoft increasing their prices to $80, and now Nintendo's following suit, and probably Sony soon too. So that is definitely something in their control, and they don't really care. They're just going to increase prices. To be fair, I remember back in the 360 games being $60, so it's been a while since they increased prices, but still, you're increasing console prices, you're increasing game prices, you're going to start pricing out people out of this hobby. And this hobby used to be, and still probably is, still one of the more affordable hobbies to have that you can have as an adult, and also is one of the cheapest ways to consume media. When talking about dollars per hour spent, yeah, this is still the cheapest way to consume media, not for long maybe. And this is in key contrast with them laying off literal thousands of people per year in these studios and slowing down funding to studios like Naughty Dog and literally closing down studios like London Studio, Tango Gameworks, Arcane Austin, many more. There's tons more. And they're increasing prices? So where the real disconnect lies is why are they laying off people and why are they increasing game prices? Why are they increasing game console prices? If they're laying off people, it should cost less. And there's a growing disconnect between the people who are running these companies and the player, because isn't it just disingenuous to fire off and cut back on studios and then raise game prices at the same time? Obviously, making games is expensive and is getting more expensive, but really? Especially Microsoft. Microsoft has been really egregious at this recently, especially since they bought a bunch of studios and are just firing thousands, sometimes tens of thousands at a time. And while increasing prices for games, they're firing off people. This just sounds incredibly disingenuous and obviously is helping them in other ways. They're just trying to cut costs and trying to increase profits. They wanted the gaming industry to be a highly profitable machine, which they can bank on. Alright, so let's talk about something else. Let's move on from these greedy companies and let's talk about greedy companies being greedy. Yeah, there's a lot of recycled content out there now, especially in the gaming space. This is something that's affecting other areas and other sectors, but in the gaming space, it feels very prevalent. I feel like every single game everyone's talking about is something that came out 10 years ago, something that came out even 20 years ago, and everyone's playing again and talking about, and the gaming industry is not moving anywhere because of it. Just look at Dead Space, Resident Evil 4, even Diablo 2 and The Last of Us Part 1. Why are those being remade? I kind of understand Dead Space to some degree because that game was released on the 360, but still, it was a very good looking game at the time, and do we really need a remake of it? Like, can't you just turn up the settings in the game? Like, you already paid for it? No, that's the problem. They want you to buy it again. It has been nice that Xbox has had backwards compatibility, and some of these games, I think Dead Space is Xbox One X enhanced, so these games do look better. You can pick between a FPS boost or a graphical enhance just by upping the resolution. But a lot of companies don't care for that, and they want you to buy a new copy of the game, the same game you played. How long ago was Dead Space? 15 years ago now? I have no clue at this point. And for obvious reasons, they're doing this because they don't want to release a new IP, because a new IP would cost sometimes well over $200 million to produce. So they'd rather go with something that they know, or at least think, will be successful in the market because it's already been done before. Companies are getting very safe with their money and do not want to spend it in places where they think they can lose it. They want to make more and more money, and they want to make their shareholders very happy. Another thing that's been happening a lot is just the excess amounts of open world games that shouldn't even be open world. Like, why is Halo Infinite an open world game? Like, that's a series that's based off of a linear experience. It's supposed to play out a movie. That was the whole idea of it. That's why there's cutscenes in the game. Beautiful cutscenes. Cutscenes people took weeks, years making. Games are supposed to be like a movie, a playable movie. A movie you have some control over. Obviously, there are still some good games coming out that are open world. Obviously, Elden Ring is open world, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. In contrast to these games I think are complete garbage, reward you exploring and discovering new things, and since there's been so many open world games, there's really not been that many good linear games where you can play from start to finish and go, wow, that's a new detail I didn't realize the last time I played. That's the thing. Linear games, since they were linear in structure, it didn't take you hundreds of hours to complete. They would want you to replay them. So you would take Half-Life, for instance, and you would replay it again. You would notice new details in Half-Life. They would invest tremendous amounts of money in facial animation and make characters feel realistic on screen, and invest in quality visuals and quality game dynamics. There are very few cinematic games that have come out in the past 2 generations now, which is really sad because some of the best games to ever come out were linear experiences. Linear games are not bad, and it's not something of the old days because we didn't have enough RAM to load in massive maps. So that is true, but gaming is kind of based around a linear experience. Gaming, in my opinion, is supposed to feel like a movie you have control over. And open world games are just too bloated to feel like a movie. And since they have to spend money in so many different places, it ends up being just a watered down experience. And you're just sitting there at that 100 hour of that game you played, thinking, what the fuck is this? Why am I playing this? I could have been playing Half-Life. So to talk about another misstep this generation is ray tracing. Why ray tracing? So this technology was originally supposed to be the defining part of this generation. It was supposed to make games look beyond your imagination or make things just look realistic. But what it's actually done is made good performance a thing of the past. Now you can no longer run your game at high settings without having your computer literally start on fire and having to throw it in the dumpster. The performance penalty of ray tracing is insane. You'll see sometimes half the performance you'll see with ray tracing turned off. So now developers are trying to claw back performance by using DLSS as a crutch. So the way this technology basically works is it renders the game at a lower resolution and it uses algorithms to make it bigger and put it into a higher resolution. What this ends up causing is somewhat high input lag and a lot of weird artifacts that can cause shimmering in the distance and cause things overall to look soft and fuzzy and make you want to wear prescription glasses. And not to mention, a lot of games, when you switch from RTX to the original form of lighting, which is called light mapping, you'll see that light mapping actually looks better in some cases. That is, if the game developer even bothers to put light mapping into the game and actually spends time making it look good. The reason why light maps look so good is because it takes hours to render, and it takes a professional lighting artist to arrange the scene to make it look half decent because there's static shadows, there's static lights, nothing's changing in real time. With RTX, now you can just run that through the RTX cores and now the game has lights. The problem is there's not enough ray tracing cores inside graphics cards at the moment, so it doesn't run fast enough, leading to the game looking overall worse. Light mapping is better. As they add more and more ray tracing cores to these cards, it will look better, but as of now, things are starting to get a little bit better, but at the very beginning, at the 2080 series, when that released, it was pretty bad. Alright, let's now talk about something completely different. The death of the online gaming space, the social isolation, and the complete removal of social features from games. I honestly miss the old days of when you can boot up the Xbox and hop into a lobby and just make some friends, talk to people. The coolest part of these friendships is they understood that they were online friends and you had real life friends, and when you said, hey, I'm gonna go play with my friends, they wouldn't get offended. They didn't care. It didn't matter. These people would come and go sometimes. Sometimes you would talk to them for years at a time. Sometimes you would talk to them for days at a time. I've had friends on Xbox that have lasted for almost a decade. So when the party chat was first introduced, and as the years progressed after, people started to migrate away from in-game lobby chat to party chat, which led to in-game lobbies being completely desolate and devoid of any life. Now we don't even know if we're playing with bots. They could be botting the game. Who's even speaking to begin with? It's completely normal to go entire gaming sessions without even knowing that these people are real because they don't speak. And now if you want to make friends online, you have to go into one of these group search programs. Xbox has one, but most of the time they're completely overrun by bots. Either bots advertising things or bots that are coming to scam you. There are not a lot of good people on these group searches anymore. And as a result, gaming online has become incredibly boring because it's completely lost its unpredictable nature with running into completely new people and talking to people about their experiences in life. Anything. You talk about the game, you talk about literally anything. Online gaming has become incredibly boring to me because that really was the thing that kept me going online, because meeting new people and talking with people about their experiences in life and hearing the weirdest things happen, like someone's mom walking into the room and yelling about them because they said the F word a few too many times, or one time where I witnessed someone literally in a microwave, which the police showed up at my house, which is unfortunate, obviously. It's not a good experience, but it is very unpredictable what you'll experience in the Xbox Live lobby chats. Anything could happen. Obviously, the reason why people retreated is because these lobbies were incredibly toxic, but, you know, just be a man and deal with it, right? Is that what they say? I don't know. It was still fun, especially as a kid, because cursing was a new thing, and saying curse words online and saying curse words to strangers and throwing curse words and insults back and forth was absolutely hilarious. But as an adult, I can kind of understand why that can be annoying and can be just stupid, obviously. So this forced people into party chats and Discord and TeamSpeak and whatever garbage you want to use. That's why the lobby became completely desolate. And now as a result, it is much harder to find people naturally through games. It's nearly impossible. You can still, I guess, load up some Xbox 360 titles. The Xbox 360 Call of Duties do have a few people in lobby chat sometimes, but you have to get a good lobby, because if one person's speaking, sometimes people do bring out their headsets and start speaking and you get that old school vibe. But other than that, there's really nowhere else to go, because Halo 3 has been sunsetted and that's completely done with. So essentially what this means is, fuck you, Microsoft. Why would you sunset Halo 3? It was fun. Which, for obvious reasons, it made sense to do, because they have MCC. Why run the Halo 3, Reach, and whatever servers for no real reason? You can just play MCC. Even though MCC is full of cheaters right now, but I think they've gotten that fixed. And also, I can't play Halo MCC on my PC, because every single time I load it, the anti-cheat doesn't load. And I have absolutely no clue how to fix it, because I look it up online. No one has an answer for it, but I don't know. If you guys have an answer for it, please leave it in the comments. I have no clue what I'm doing. I only used to be in the IT space for about 12 years. Let's now talk about another beautiful thing that's been happening recently, is games as a second job. Well, that kid on Fortnite, that's his full-time job. School's second. That's his second job. For me, Apex was like that for a little bit. I would come home and play Apex for literally sometimes 6 hours a day. I did become quite good at Apex, but I have nothing to show for it because it's a game, and that does not help you in life. Through these battle passes and these loot boxes, people have really started to waste their lives away on just singular games. Some people I know who have literal hundreds of days, and one person I know who has a literal year spent in Apex Legends, just him in Apex Legends. Yeah, you can really see where this is going. A lot of these companies, they want to have a game like Apex Legends. They want to have a game like Fortnite. They want to have a PUBG. They want to have a Roblox. No Roblox, please no Roblox. Because these are cash cows. If they can get one of these set up, they're set for life. They have no need to develop new games. Just look at Epic Games. What the fuck have they released since Fortnite, really? Have they released anything? They're the ones responsible for Gears of War. Like, they were a big deal back in the day, and I don't know what happened. It looks like they're done. I feel like that's where the industry is starting to go, or maybe has went. I don't know. I think it already is there, to be honest. So that's why we've been seeing less and less games, because all these game development studios are either pouring all their energy into what games they do have that are games as a service, or are actively trying to develop one that will eventually overtake Fortnite or whatever currently is the game, because I don't pay any attention to those games because they suck. So hopefully through this video, you were able to see why game consoles are kind of going downhill, and this will not be a generation people will remember at all. This generation will probably be forgotten or remembered as a complete failure, and hopefully after this generation, because the Xbox One and PS4 generations weren't very good to begin with, this next generation will hopefully be better. But we'll see. Time has to tell. Alright, so to kind of summarize this video and to answer the question I know most people are going to be saying or asking in the comments, is this has to do with the pandemic, you know, the pandemic. Yeah, I don't think so, because the Xbox 360 and PS4 were literally out and were extended because of the Great Recession. People couldn't afford to buy new consoles, and they worked with it, and that was probably one of the best generations ever. It is the best generation in my opinion, but other people argue other things. So there's no excuse. This is just mismanagement at its finest. And remember, the fish rots from the head, and the head is pretty rotten over at Microsoft right now. So my final message is, if I had a genie and I can ask for anything, maybe not everything gaming related, I would ask for, first off, can it be 2007 again? Can my mom walk into my bedroom, wake me up, and tell me, and shake me, and tell me, it's 2007, son. It's 2007. Let's go. And I'll be all excited, and I'll be saying, oh, can I skip school today? And you know what I'll be doing? I'll be playing games from the Xbox 360. I'll be enjoying it. I'll be having fun. Unlike now, because every single time I play a modern game, I wish it was 2007.